What's going on, Westchester and Rockland Counties? I'm Scott Messina of The Morning Show with Bob Marrone. You're listening to this week's version of the best of The Morning Show with Bob Marrone, featuring Harlan Ullman, Arlen Gargagliano of Mambo 64, and Bob Ney.
I started singing Bye Bye Miss
American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee and he hit the button again. Those good old boys was drinking whiskey and wine, singing "This'll be the day that I die." Yes, it is 9:04. Welcome to the 9 o'clock hour of the of the morning show here on AM 1230 WFAS and worldwide at WFASAM.com. I'm Bob Marrone here with Scott Messina and Ian Massaro. And as you know, the 9 o'clock hours we format differently. We're going to go straight to one of our guests in a few minutes, one of our regular guests. Right now it's 38 degrees, and that is a good thing. We'll get some melt off of this terrible problem we've had with ice yesterday, serious car accidents in the overnight, the drive this morning. And without further ado, we're going to go to our next guest. Now, I had to put my computer in another spot because it was affecting the wires, but he just finished another one of his columns. And this is 100 Years of War in and with Islam. He is a security expert who has consulted presidents. He continues to consult secretaries of state, foreign ministers, generals. He's written a book, and he's had his parties, book signing parties. See, we got early copies of this. A Handful of Bullets: How the Murder of Archduke Franz Ferdinand Still Menaces the Peace. And for those of you that aren't World War I buffs, suffice it to say that we redrew the map of the world in the Middle East. That may seem like an oxymoron, or at least redrew the Middle East back after World War I, and we're still paying a price. Without further ado, please welcome Harlan Ullman. Good morning, Harlan.
Good morning, Bob.
I try to get everything in there, especially your book coming out.
Very succinct.
Now, Harlan, let's get to cases. And one of the things that troubles me, in fact, I was kidding about it this morning, is every world leader, not a whose phone is near it now. These wires are driving me nuts. Every world leader, including our own, President Obama and the people that work here, everyone's saying another attack is imminent. And am I right in saying, even though that may be the case, that they're just doing it to cover their butts so that no one can say we didn't know?
In large measure, I think that the issue here is that we have made a huge mistake by declaring a war on terror. Terror is a tactic. It's not a real animate object. And it forces us to deal with symptoms and not causes. The real causes of terror are simply those people who want to use violence for some kind of a political purpose, and so therefore how do you make it such that they can no longer employ, that the reasons for using that violence or their ability to use that violence is taken away from them. Many, many years ago, Lenin said, the purpose of terror is to terrorize, and I think we have forgotten that in the sense that terror is not the object. The object in this particular case is Islamism and radical and violent uses of religion for political purposes, which in many ways is not different from how the communists seized power in Russia in 1917 or the Nazis in Germany in 1933.
Now, having said that, I was surprised at this. I got my copy of Time, and I saw on the cover about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the very heady, very cerebral former NBA star, wrote an editorial about ISIS. And I said, boy, I got to read this. And I was surprised how thoughtful it was. I'm just going to give you the headline. I don't know, it just came out. I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet. But
I haven't.
He says, Paris was not about religion. Thugs, not Muslims, commit violence in the name of Allah. And the essential purpose of the column was to say that if you really understood Islam, it's not as violent as you would think by these people, that it is people that are using religion for political ends. How does that stand with you? Or
He's absolutely right. In fact, if you read, people don't speak Arabic, so it's very difficult, but the Quran is in very, very many ways a mild statement of religion and virtuosity. What's happened, however, is that over the centuries, the Quran has been perverted in different varieties of Sharia law. And it's been perverted because Sharia law has been designed to fit the political purposes of a particular ruling leadership and not the religious virtues.
Now, is it fair enough to say that really began with the insistence of or the emergence of Wahhabism by the Saudis, and then all of its perversions after that?
Well, this goes back, you're talking about 1,400 years after the death of Muhammad in 626.
Right.
And you have not only the Wahhabism that really took place when the Saudis decided, at the turn of the 19th and the 20th century, that the House of Saud and the Wahhabis had to have some kind of an intermarriage, so to speak, politically. Mm-hmm. But you always also had the offshoots of the Shia.
But the Shia and the Alawites.
And so this goes back, and there are about 5 different varieties of Sharia law in terms of mainstreams. But then you have, for example, the Taliban writing Sharia law in which they argue that the Quran forbids kite flying, for example, which is bizarre. And so what we need to do is several things, as I've argued before. First, we really don't have a strategy to deal with Sharia law. Obviously, that's something that must be done, and it must be done by the practitioners, namely the clerics who are really in charge. Second, we do not have a counter-narrative to take on the ideology of the violent extremists.
But do we need a counter-narrative? Are you saying that's what's needed? Is this as much a PR effort as it is a military one?
In many ways more so, because a military effort is not going to succeed over the long term. It has to be a political, ideological, religious, and in some ways an economic effort. So we don't have a counter-narrative. And lastly, we're still dealing with security organizations, UN, et cetera, that are of the 20th century and really the Cold War. And what we have to mobilize is a 21st century organization that takes on these new dangers. And what I've argued for is some kind of an enhanced relationship between, for example, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the Shanghai Cooperative Organization, which consists of China, Russia, the various stands,
right.
It has India and Pakistan
so
and Afghanistan.
East and West, basically.
And the Gulf Cooperative Council, where all this stuff is really raging.
Who's in that council? You've got like Qatar and Jordan.
You've got the UAE. You've got basically the 6 major powers:
right.
Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and the Gulf states.
Yeah. Now a question for you. 9/11. We're talking with Harlan K. Ullman again. His book, which is going to be coming out. He's already got a book party scheduled. We'll let him tell you about that before he leaves. A Handful of Bullets. Just an extraordinary tome. How the murder of Archduke Franz Ferdinand still menaces the peace, and how we're still dealing. These are my words now. We're still dealing with it today. Now I'm going to put you in a scenario that is not unlikely, given your skill set and the people that you meet with. You get a phone call tomorrow, and the foreign minister of Paris invites you to sit down. And he said, the information that you give me is going to be shared with the Americans, the Dutch, the Germans, and, of course, the UK. What should we be doing? How should we counter ISIS, Taliban, Al-Qaeda type terrorism? And let's not forget Boko Haram.
The way I would argue is the points that I just made. First, one of the things that we did in...
And again, I'm a foreign minister, so tell me like to tell him.
I understand. I'll speak very simply.
You got the right guy.
Words of one syllable.
Yeah. Duh.
As we did in Iraq and Afghanistan to take on the various insurgents, we had what was called human terrain mapping. That is to say, we knew the specifics of individuals by name who were on the other side, so to speak. First of all, what I like to do is some terrain mapping of the various aspects of Sharia law. Mm-hmm. I want to know who the key clerics are around the world and who are the key people of the elite in the world of Islam, what their views are, and how they can be affected to take on this issue, because the point that was made in Time magazine is absolutely right. This is a perversion of Islam. So that's the first thing which we haven't done. Mm-hmm. Second, I want to rally the Islamic world to begin developing their counter-narrative against what I would call the enemies of Islam. And I would put Boko Haram, I would put the Islamic State, I would put all these violent extremists in that particular category. And that has got to be something that's going to be done largely among and between the members of the Islamic world, because if Westerners do it, we'll be seen as arrogant, et cetera, et cetera. Let me just step back and describe why this is a real problem. 17 people were killed in Paris, and of course, the Western world went crazy. We had 44 leaders in Paris to mourn for the French. President Obama was criticized for not sending a heavy hitter out there. And guess what? What happened when 150 kids were killed in Peshawar in Pakistan? How many Western leaders went to Pakistan?
Why is
Zero.
that? Yeah.
And you play this out, how many Western leaders have gone to Nigeria? Zero.
Well, what's happening in Nigeria is well, it's just as bad as all the rest of it, but criminal. I mean, we still haven't found those 200 schoolgirls from April.
So my point is that from the perspective of Islam and Arab and Muslim countries, the West are moaning about ones and twos, whereas tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of members of Muslims are being killed, for example, in Syria. So we have to understand there's a big difference of perspective. And then thirdly, how do we then use our organizations? And I go back to NATO. I mean, NATO is obviously a military alliance that has been formed to keep the peace in Europe, but it has many, many partnerships. And how do we use the Shanghai Cooperative Organization? Because Russia has a bigger problem than we're going to have.
Okay, here's your foreign minister. All right, I get all these people together. What are they doing? What I'm hearing you say is we have to get the larger Muslim community on our side and part of this as well.
And what we want to do is to develop a multifaceted plan which is directed at removing the grounds for grievances which has really put in place much of the rationale for why these extremists have become so attractive.
Am I correct, my counselor, that part of the grievances is these people are poor, the rich keep all the money, particularly in some of even the Arab states that would be helping us, the Gulf states, where the kings and the emirates have all the money, and they dole it out to try and bribe their citizens, but at the end of the day, there are too many poor people and too many people that have hopeless lives.
Well, I think that you can make an argument that economic depravity has contributed to this, but in most cases, it's an absence of access to political power. It's a question of dignity. It's not being able to have enough sway in dominating and directing your own lives. So there are more politically determined issues here that have to be dealt with. But my point is that in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be impossible to change Sharia law overnight. So what you want to have is some gradual changings, cutting back on the use of Wahhabism overseas to develop these more extreme areas.
Okay. I want to juxtapose something before you go. 916, we are talking with Harlan K. Elman, a security expert. He advises presidents, heads of state, generals, you name it. Here's something I'd like you to juxtapose. In 1979, during the Iranian Revolution, when who we used to think was the baddest dude on the planet, Khomeini, they established a theocracy. But it didn't turn into pure Sharia law. These people in Iran have more freedom than any of the other governments we're talking about. Why is that? What didn't go wrong there?
The key issue when you look at Iran is that Irans are Persian, and Persians believe that their history is perhaps the oldest in the world, and they still relate to it. And you had developed under the Shah, for better for worse, a Western civilization that really was not paralleled in the rest of the Arab world. And so when Khomeini and the Shia clerics took charge, they were dealing with a Persian personality that went back centuries, but also a largely Western state. And so there was only so much that religion could do, and religion in many ways was countered or neutralized by those social factors.
It's interesting. You know my take. I still think
the rest of the Arab and Islamic worlds.
In many ways, I still think we're on the wrong side in some of these battles, particularly in Syria.
I could not agree with you more. We should have recognized Iran a long, long time ago.
We sometimes don't let go very easily. I mean, when we win, we're great. When we lose, my point is, we beat the dickens out of the Germans and Japan and turned them into the two of the greatest democracies in the world by helping them. We got our butts kicked by Vietnam, or at least fought to a stalemate. We waited too long to normalize relations, and they're doing very well now. And the same thing with Cuba. What is it about our policies that compel us to not let go when we lose, when even it's in our best interest?
The fundamental problem is that every war we started, we have lost. Going back to Vietnam. Because of our political system and the need for quick political victories, we're very, very good at winning battles and losing wars.
Interesting.
And we have to get around that. And unfortunately, we're driven so much by the politics of the day that everything becomes a zero-sum game, and everything is the most important issue at the moment. For example, the Keystone Pipeline. Everybody argues that the world is going to rise and fall about the Keystone Pipeline. That's nonsense. It has certain advantages and certain disadvantages.
Really
on a scale
is.
of 1 to 100, this is a 2. But to hear the politicians,
it's the most important thing since sliced bread.
Taking on Hitler. That's one of the problems with our system. We're just not rational and use common sense enough.
9:19. We have to go to break, and I want to thank you for being on, but I want to ask you about something. Next week when you come on, and I'm sure you're abreast of it, but I want to give you a heads up. I'd love to talk with you about Cuba.
Absolutely.
I just think that this is just a little primer here. I can't believe that we haven't normalized relations with them. In my take, now this is my simple mind that will apply your more superior knowledge to
let me
next
give you
week.
a simple answer people can think about.
Right. No, but
28. 28 is the answer.
What's 28?
Number of electoral votes in Florida.
Oh, absolutely, because I got to tell you, it seems to me that had we normalized relations, that place would have fallen of its own weight a long time ago.
Whether it did or didn't, it is a tiny little, we'll talk about that much later.
Okay.
It's a tiny little issue, and we've just made a lot of nonsense over something that should have been dealt with a long time ago.
I want to have your babies. That's terrific. Thank you very much. It is 9:20. The great Harlan K. Ullman. Buy his book. Next week we'll also talk about the book. Well, I guess your book party is the 26th. This is the 16th?
There's several book parties in Washington and actually elsewhere.
Okay, we'll talk about that. A Handful of Bullets, How the Murder of Archduke Franz Ferdinand Still Menaces the Peace, by Harlan K. Ullman. Harlan, thank you so very much.
Bob, my pleasure. Thank you.
Good choice, Scotty. Welcome to the morning show, the 9 o'clock hour of the morning show. It is 9:04. You're listening to AM 1230 WFAS and worldwide on WFASAM.com. It's 30 degrees. We have a heat wave on its way to maybe 32 or 33. You'll have some sunshine today, but don't get too used to it tonight. It'll drop down to single digits. And in the wind and fury of the wind, it's going to feel like 0 or below. I'm Bob Marrone. It is Friday the 16th. Can you believe we are here? The 16th.
My birthday is in 8 months. Exactly. September 16th.
Talk about a non sequitur. You know what a non sequitur is?
Kind of.
That's mean. Okay. Okay, it's just totally out of the blue, but I'm fun.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
January 16th, 2015, and here we are on a Friday, and we like Fridays because we kind of, this morning we did some heavy stuff, and I just put out that clarion call because it was important, but generally we try to have fun on Fridays, and since the 9 o'clock hour, we do not do the same format as the other hours. We can get right to fun. Fun. It doesn't get better than hot chicks and hot food. Roll up closer to my microphone, baby. And I'm going to. Your husband doesn't listen, does he?
Yeah, did I tell you he's a really big guy? Armed and dangerous.
You miserable looking cretin, you. Anyway, let's.
That's probably worse, Bob.
Please welcome Arlen.
I'm writing your obituary as we speak.
Gargagliano. She is the proprietor, along with her tough, physically mean husband, of a wonderful restaurant, Mambo 64. Good morning, and it's good to see you again. You're looking very lovely.
Thank you, Bob. You're looking lovely as
well.
Good
thank
to
you.
See you.
Now, I have to do this, otherwise I'll lose my man card. You're wearing the most beautiful pair of nylons that I've never seen. Now, how would you describe those?
These are a floral print nylon.
Floral print flowers. I'm a gardener, you know. I can go so many places with this, and I'm not going to do it. But they're it's like you have Van Gogh on your legs.
That's right. That's the idea.
No, it is actually. You're all dressed up, even in this cold day. How's business at the restaurant?
Business is good. Thank you for asking, Bob. We're having a lot of fun, and we're doing a lot of different things. And you have to mix things up. It's all about the food, of course.
Yeah, well, yes, food, women, and wine.
Exactly.
Which we'll get to.
But we mix things up a bit. I have to tell you, last night we had a tarot card reader in.
A tarot card reader?
Yeah, and she was amazing. She's not going to come for a couple of weeks, but then she'll be back on Thursday.
You should bring her in with you
so
the
much
next
fun.
time.
Oh, she's amazing.
Oh, we'll have
Gina.
no,
she's
please
great.
bring her in. Please tell her no.
Okay.
She'll get a free plug, and we'll have some
Okay.
fun. Is she the one that told you to wear the sexy nylons?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
And I listened to her.
All right. Now, okay, she had a tarot. So you're doing different things. Now, we
Right.
want to get back to basics. Tell people where the restaurant is, its address, and what you serve, and then we'll get into cases.
Okay, we are located in downtown Tuckahoe. We are
Tuckahoe.
on Tuckahoe, 64 Main Street.
Right across from the
ac-
train station.
Right across from the
Hop
village
off the train and
offices.
get a snack.
Exactly. No, it's a perfect location. There's good parking there. And we're a small restaurant with a lot to offer. Our menu is basically Latin American and Caribbean influence. And I tell
Is they
people...
good thing?
It's
I
a
just want to
very
give a
good
little
thing.
flavor.
Thank you.
They're good things.
Delicioso. Todo
Delicious, totally delicious.
Riquísimo,
Mucho
riquísimo.
grande gudo. The last word I didn't know. Bien.
That
or
made no
something.
We're
sense,
going to
Bob.
talk about your Spanish classes soon.
Yeah, we'll do that too. Okay,
You know, I
continue.
was a teacher for a long time.
That's right.
so-
You taught Spanish as
I
well.
did. I taught Spanish
Well,
and
you spent time in
English.
I know Europe, South America. I remember.
You
I remember.
Good.
Always remember a woman with beautiful stockings. It's a good. So continue.
Well, see, I'm glad I wore these.
No, they work for me. I like particularly the flowers that are arranged. Anyway, go ahead.
So our menu is from all the places I've lived in, traveled to, or wanted to visit. And what we're going to focus on today, because I brought you a little treat, is our lunch. So we have lunch from Tuesday through Friday.
Yes.
11:30 to 2:30.
Lunch special.
And we have Cuban sandwiches.
No, and now, aren't you glad, by the way, that the things are lessening up? We can start traveling to Cuba
I'm
now,
so
and it's
glad.
great.
Yeah, I'm ready to book my ticket. I'm ready to go.
When are we going?
I don't know.
I hope our husband's not listening. God. All right, so now tell us about what the lunch menu is. No, first, because we have time.
Okay.
We'll cover the whole menu, and then we'll focus in on lunch and my sandwich, which is somewhere in that little
It's
box
there.
there.
It's warm and ready
With
for
little red, white polka dots
you. You
on
like
it.
that? The menu itself is Latin American and Caribbean influence.
Now, what is included in the Latin American menu? Paella, for example.
Well, that would be Spanish, and we do have that on special sometimes.
Well, tell me what
But
you do have.
What we have for lunch, we have Cuban sandwiches, three different kinds of Cuban
listening.
sandwiches. Okay.
I get it.
One, which you're going to sample, is the traditional Mambo Cuban. And that has pernil. Remember we talked about the roast pork shoulder?
Oh,
Remember
yes.
that?
I love shoulders, too.
I know you
do.
do.
They wear nylons as well? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You're killing him. already.
Go ahead.
And that has pork shoulder, it has ham, it has mustard, it has pickles, a little bit of cheese. It's lovely. I think you're going to like that one.
I think I'm going to like it, too.
And then we have a vegetarian version with portobello mushrooms, which is also amazing, and a chicken Cuban. Those are our kind of creations.
So what did you bring today?
I brought you the traditional Mambo Cuban because I thought you would like that one.
I'm very traditional.
Okay,
Very
good.
traditional. Continue.
And we also have...
Now, what kind of bread is it on? What do you serve that kind of
It's
thing?
on
We're
great
gonna look
bread. This is what I always tell people.
What's green bread?
Great.
Oh,
great.
you said green bread. I was thinking you left it out too long. It's
No.
great bread.
Great bread.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a baguette.
I
have you
love
ever been to
baguette.
Miami?
Yes.
Okay, so have you had Cuban sandwiches in Miami?
Yes. And there are a couple of Cuban restaurants here in Westchester.
There are.
Yeah.
There are. But we have the best Cuban sandwiches.
And the last Cuban restaurant I was at, believe it or not, was in Jersey City.
Oh, really?
There's a fine Cuban restaurant there. No, I love that kind of baguette bread. In fact,
Oh,
I
I do
like it
too.
when you. And it's funny. I don't generally eat tuna sandwiches, but whenever I'm in Europe and they have them like in little storefronts and the cases,
Yeah.
the tuna on the little bag. It's different for some reason. I don't know why.
The
I
bread
like
is
it.
good.
Yeah, the
That's
bread
why.
is very good.
No, it's very important. And one food writer said our bread has chewability, and I think that's just a perfect description. It's just so good. My father, who is
Shoulders should also have
listen to
chewability.
you.
So, go ahead. It's 9/11.
my father, who is very particular about his bread, 91 years old. He always says, "Could you bring me bread from the restaurant?" So he loves this bread. So that's just part of the lunch. Then we always have a soup.
Yeah, soup.
We chef-any. No,
it's a new whacking. I wasn't touching you. You're whacking the thing. It's going boing.
I can't help it.
Boing, boing. Hit your leg. Hit one of the flowers. Just don't wilt them.
Bob, you don't know what you're saying right now, man.
No, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Anyway, getting back to the menu, we also have great soups. Chef-any, my chef de cuisine, makes amazing soups.
What kind of soup?
Well, this week we have a vegetable soup. She said there were 27 vegetables. I don't think there are, but...
Well, there could be.
It's great,
tree branches.
Really.
No, okay. I love vegetable soup.
No, she always makes
What
great
else
soups.
do you have? What other kind of
We
soups?
also have a great collection of salads. So we have our mambo salad, which has toasted pepitas. You know what pepitas are?
Pepitas? Not unless I was taking an antibiotic for it.
Wrong. No.
What is a pepita?
Toasted pumpkin seeds.
Oh, okay.
And roasted sweet plantains on top of greens. So that's kind of a different.
Make
that's
us
our
hungry
mambo
here. It's a good
salad.
thing you brought food.
Good,
Let me remind
that's
people,
the idea.
Arlene, we're talking with Arlene Gargagliano. She is the proprietor, along with her husband, of Mambo 64. It is a restaurant right across the street from the train station in Tuckahoe. It's been reviewed extremely well by the various food critics. And tell us a little bit about the lunch menu. Is the lunch menu specially priced?
It is, actually. Thank you for asking, Bob.
It's my job.
We have, for $12.95, you get half a sandwich, and it's a nice size half sandwich.
Oh, okay.
And a salad, a soup, or a side. And the
Wow.
side, we have yuca fries. We have
Hold on.
fried
What's a
sweet
yuca fry? Is that from the
plantain.
Yucatan Peninsula?
You have to no, but it could be.
Okay.
Yuca is it's a cousin of a potato. And
It's related to a potato?
Yeah, it's a cousin. I would
All
say it's
right,
a
they
cousin.
relate- a
It's very
cousin of the
nutty
potato.
flavored, like potato, but better.
Okay.
You have to come and have it.
But it could be like a gumata of the potato, right? So it's now what color is it?
It has the same kind of off-white color. On
Okay,
the
consistency
inside
of a potato.
white
Okay,
potato.
so it's a
But
it's a
consistency,
it's a
but
root
the
vegetable
flavor.
of some sort. Sounds,
It is a root vegetable.
and you
yes.
should see your face. You're getting like all emotional over this potato.
Well, I love yuca.
I love you too, but it's 9:14.
What else do we have? We have sweet potato fries, which are amazing.
People love them. I know a woman that would kill babies for sweet potato fries.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What
That's
else?
scary. We also have roasted sweet plantains, which, have you ever had those?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, amazing. So,
And this is off for let me see if I got this right. I get off the train. I'm hungry. I want to go to lunch in town.
Lunchtime, 11:30
No, I know it's
to
lunchtime.
2:30, okay.
I pop in for lunch
Okay.
for $12.99. I can get all
95.
this. What?
sorry.
Fine. What do I get?
You get a half a sandwich and a soup, a salad, or a side. So you get two wonderful things.
How big is the restaurant? Have room for me? I brought 3 friends.
Yes, we have room for you. We have about 44 seats. And then we have a beautiful bar. And speaking of the bar, we have happy hour from Tuesday to Friday, 5 to 7.
Uh-huh.
And then we have a lovely dinner.
Wow. Tell us about we'll hold off the dinner, 9:15. I just want to tell people again how they can get to your restaurant, where it is, and then we'll talk about dinner and we'll try out that lunch sandwich.
Okay, we're at 64 Main Street in Tuckahoe, right near the train station, across from the village offices. And we're open Tuesday through Sunday, closed on Mondays except for cooking classes. And we have a cooking class on February 2nd.
That's right. You give cooking classes as
do,
well,
we
tarot card
do.
readings. Now, is it fair to say that your restaurant has become a destination restaurant, not just a local restaurant? Or
I
is it-
think that's
yeah.
fair to say.
Wow, because it just sounds so exciting. Now, how are you doing? How's business?
Business is good. Can I knock on some wood?
Yeah, knock on wood. Scott, put your head over here.
Nice.
It's 9:50.
Did you see his face? Oh, my God.
Scott, is someone on the phone? Do they have a question for this fine lady?
No, it's Bruce Hall.
Oh, he's calling early today.
Yeah, he said earlier it would be helpful, but I told
Okay.
he knows the drill.
Okay, he
So-
knows the drill, so he has to wait, and he can't have a sandwich either. All right, now tell you what we want to do. I'd like you to get out the sandwich.
Okay.
You take
You
it out.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh, I'm always ready. Now, do you have to talk to it when you take the wrap off, or do you just no foreplay here? Okay, let's look at it. Scott, do you want some of this? Now, with 916, we're talking with the very lovely proprietor of Mambo 64. over in Tuckahoe from the train station. It is, oh my God, look at this.
Okay, so
and I wasn't even looking at the sandwich.
Nice.
Nice flowers on those stockings. Okay, here we go. I'm about to bite in. Oh my, the bread is good. I got my own napkin. Scott, you got to get half of this, baby.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is this? This is the mustard on top. It's very fresh. And now you got the pork and the ham and a pickle.
Pork, ham, pickle, mustard, and cheese.
Oh my God!
Swiss cheese.
And it's very good because. Oh my God!
You like it?
Am I very much? Am I eating the half sandwich?
You are. You are eating the half sandwich.
Cannibalism. Because he is a ham sandwich.
This is really good.
Good.
Now, I'm not just saying this because you're here. I mean, people know me. I'm a very finicky eater.
Well, and so this is our take on a traditional Cuban. What would be the difference? If you go to Miami, the mustard would be slightly different.
I'm feeling myself chased now. Say hello to my little sandwich. It is not. This is really, really good.
Thank you.
How do you make? Who makes the bread?
A wonderful company that I can't tell you or I'd have to kill you because I don't want people going out and getting the bread, you know. I want to keep that as our secret.
Now, will you kill me, or does it just mean like a little light physical violence? Because that we could like.
No, kill you.
A little bit more about dinner. Tell us about
Okay.
dinner while I'm eating my sandwich.
Okay, so about dinner, we have
How is this good?
a full menu of, a full menu that includes tapas, which are mostly small plates. I have my signature guacamole, which I believe you tasted last time.
Scott consumed the bowl.
And gambas al ajillo, which is
Who?
a traditional gambas al ajillo. I'm
Down
gonna take
by
you,
the
I have
river,
to give you
down by
Spanish
the sea.
classes.
What's down by Scylla?
Gambas al ajillo is shrimp.
I can
in a
pronounce gamba
beautiful-
al ajillo.
No, let's take it a little slower. Gambas
Gambas
al
al
ajillo.
ajillo.
And that was pretty good, is considering that you're eating the sandwich
Gambas
at
al
the same
ajillo.
time. Ajillo, see?
Ajillo.
Which is a shrimp in sherry and garlic sauce, and it's amazing. It's very light. It's great for you're a bread guy. You can dunk your bread into the sherry sauce. That's amazing. And we have many other things. Little empanadas from
How did you know I was a bread guy?
Because I could tell.
How did you know I was a leg guy?
I guessed. I could tell.
Okay,
Right?
a shoulder guy as well. Did I mention that? How does so give us the range of dinner options?
The range of dinner options. You can come in and have a lot of different tapas, a lot of different small plates. And basically, I created the menu the way I like to eat because I like to try many different things. So you can come with a group of people and get, 5 different tapas, 5 small dishes to try, and then share some main dishes too. And main dishes we talked about it before, the roast pork shoulder. Steak, we have a great Argentine-style steak.
Oh, my goodness.
Chimichurri marinated, it's amazing. We also have jerk chicken, and it's my style of
What
jerk
about
chicken.
jerk sports guys? Yeah, I got one of those. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
look, you're making him pout.
You don't know
He's
the
just
half of
spouting.
it.
He's over there eating the sandwich. Go ahead.
And we also have vegetarian options. We have a couple vegan options. And we have what we think is something for everybody. But the idea is you come, you try a lot of different things. We have a great cocktail menu, too, which I remember last time I showed you. I have cocktail books, so we pull
Yeah,
all
you
different
have
things from Latin America and the Caribbean.
If you just had a sandwich shop, and this is exactly the kind of bread I was talking about.
Okay.
If you just sold these, you would get rich. They're that good. Now, so I encourage people. Now, I would get this, and what else? I'm going to go back to the lunch again. We're talking. I want people to know. You're listening to AM 1230 WFAS, and I'm having a food and woman orgy here because a very nice woman who's the proprietor of Mama 64 in Tuckahoe, and they are open. What are your hours?
We are open for lunch Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 to 2:30. Dinner is 5 to 10 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 to 11 Friday and Saturday, and 5 to 9 on Sunday. And you know what, Bob? We also have a great brunch on Sundays.
What's for brunch? More of these, I hope.
No, but we have other really good stuff.
Well.
We have coconut pancakes. We have plantain stuffed French toast. We have huevos rancheros.
I went to school with him. Good job. Tony Francheros was good on the soccer team. Oh, no, what are they?
Huevos rancheros is great. They're eggs with chorizo, which is Colombian sausage.
I like chorizo.
No, I think you would like
I
that.
love it. Okay, it sounds very good.
And we have a lot of good
Okay.
stuff.
Someone called, Armin, and she wants to know about the desserts.
About the desserts,
Uh-huh.
okay. We have 3 main desserts. One is actually my namesake brownies, Arlen's brownies, and they have extra chocolate, toasted pecans, and they're served with vanilla ice cream, a little dulce de leche. Do you know dulce de leche? Caramelized milk.
Leche is
so
milk.
good. And dulce de leche is literally candy of milk, but it's caramelized milk and fresh fruit. We also have a Peruvian-style flan. And if you're a flan fan,
I know what flan is.
you have to try this one. This has fresh orange
A
and
friend of mine played
caramel.
hockey in Flin Flon, Manitoba. No, but flan is really very
Good
good.
flan. This is great stuff. You have to come and try this, Bob. You have to come and try everything. And the other dessert we
How
have
come
is
shoulder isn't on the dessert menu?
that's the main dish.
Oh, I see
They're
that.
so funny. Shoulders or legs? You're kind of
Do we have breast of chicken? No, I'm
We
it's
have-
an innocent
Emphasis on
question.
chicken.
emphasis on chicken. Yes, we have chicken.
Okay.
And then the third dessert that we have is dulce de leche lace oatmeal cookie. Very, very
A
thin.
lace cookie?
Lace oatmeal
That's a sexy cookie, huh?
And that we serve with vanilla ice cream, dulce de leche, and fresh fruit. And you can get a dessert platter with all 3, which is a lot of fun.
You know, I've almost finished my sandwich. We're doing this segment. It is 9:23. All right. So I'm eating the sandwich, and we're going to get down and dirty before we send you away. This sandwich is delicious, and I would get this. I didn't, for a change, I was not being lascivious. Down and dirty meeting. Let's get to cases. I have this half a sandwich, which was a lot. Okay. Scott inhaled his half. I would get a soup, and this. What else would I get with this?
You would get one other thing. So either a soup with that, a salad, or a side.
Terrific,
would-
because if I were to go out to a bagel store and get a simple ham sandwich, I'm gone for $9. For 12, I get this in a soup and whatever.
Exactly, for $12.95. And you're happy, right?
Extremely so. And you have flowers in the place, or are they all on legs? What is
we
the
also have
ambiance?
flour. No, the ambiance is great. We have a lot of beautiful artwork. My older brother did a lot of the original art that's around. We have beautiful things hanging. We have old classic album covers hanging on the wall.
Oh
from
man,
Mambo.
we got to do a remote there or something. By the way, you've been a great sport, because we'd like to have fun with this. But obviously, we take your restaurant very seriously. The food, you can see me enjoying this clearly.
Oh, you know what? I brought
yes.
you cookies. I
Well,
forgot.
for God's
Oh,
sakes,
my
bring the
goodness.
cookies. See, does it get better than this, Scott? Women want. Now, where's the wine? We can't
These
drink it now because of the FCC. But
I brought you a little. These cookies are Mexican chocolate cookies. We serve these usually at brunch on Sundays. They're chocolate with a little bit of cayenne pepper. You smell that?
good. Oh, they speak too. How would you like it if I bit you, man? Okay, no, just come right here.
And they're really good dipped in coffee.
You know, I want to say this before you go. Obviously, you love what you do. You talk about food the way doctors talk about the human body, the way pilots talk about airplanes. I mean, you love this. You love
I
what you do.
I've always loved food.
Is that why it's so successful, you think?
I think it's successful because it's a very personal venture for me.
Clearly.
So my idea was to open a restaurant and make it as if somebody was coming to my house because I've always entertained my mother for
Like
years.
the way you
always
brought
did.
it here. You brought us cookies, you brought us food, you arrive in good humor, you know how to converse and have fun. And what better place to go? So now you tell us, this is the business end of this, the hours, the phone number, how they make reservations, do they need reservations for lunch? You can get, and when happy hour is, and then we'll let you go. After you
Okay, the best way
take
to
the
make
gun, leave the cookies.
the best way to make reservations is, I mean, some people do it through Facebook. We're on Facebook. We also have a website,
Mambo64.
Mambo64.com. But give us a call, 914-222-9964.
Again,
914-222-9964.
like the Archbishop of South Africa, Desmond Tutu. Right,
Tutu.
Tutu. Okay.
No, it's 64, like our address, 9964.
I know. I thought you were making an aspersion to my age. But okay, fine.
Or mine, but no, we won't go there.
No.
And so call and make a reservation. We recommend reservations just so we know that you're coming, especially on the weekend. We get very busy on Friday and Saturday nights. Happy hour, 5 to 7, Tuesday through Friday night. The cocktails, beer, and wine are discounted, and we have our now famous bar salsa and chips to offer during those hours as well. And dinner is from 5 to 10, Tuesday through Thursday, 5 to 11, Friday and Saturday, 5 to 9 on Sunday evenings.
We're going, Scott. We have to go. Bring
Good.
the ladies. We have to go.
You want to pay for me?
Yeah, I probably will have to
Take
pay
me
for you.
out?
With what we pay you, I'll have to pay for you. Arlen, thank you so very much.
Thank
Plus,
you,
you've been a
Bob.
great sport.
Always
Thanks for
great
having
to
fun
see
with
you.
us.
Always
Arlen
fun.
Gargagliano, everybody.
you.
Mambo 64. And the food really is that good. I've got my little cookie here.
I'm very full.
Yeah, me too. This is really good.
Good.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, 9:45. Scotty, you do pick good music. Welcome to the morning show here at AM 1230 WFAS and worldwide and WFASAM.com. This is your local morning news and information service. We've got about 14 minutes left. There's some housekeeping. Tomorrow, Jeannie Zano, who's usually with us on Wednesdays, we'll have her on tomorrow. She's going to have a lot to say about Shelley Silver. We're also going to try and get a hold of Mike Edelman, who usually isn't on Monday. We just got word, speaking of that, we'll be talking with Jeannie about that. Of course, the President's State of the Union, this rift between the Congress and the President over Netanyahu. But we just got a call from Mitch, who told us that Shelley Silver, upon getting arrested, said, and I quote, "I hope I'll be vindicated," as opposed to, "I expect to be vindicated. I'm sure I'll be vindicated." He says, "I hope I'll be vindicated." But I think Frank's call earlier today says a lot, which is, okay, if he didn't report this stuff, that's one crime. But what if he didn't put it on his tax return? He could be breaking rocks for a long time. We shall see. But the real issue is we're talking about a guy who has so much power that other assemblymen and women tremble. It's very hard to get anything done without his approval, and he's often been referred to as one of the Gang of Three. Now, that always went back to the days when you had a governor, Shelley Silver, and in his time, the equally powerful, if not more so, Senator Bruno, now retired, himself indicted, later acquitted, but acquitted only because the law changed just in time to keep him out of jail. So these powerful men, they indeed have a lot to answer for. So we're coming up again in just a minute. Now, some of the topics, and we usually work it out depending on which one of the correspondents calls in, but we've got Netanyahu, or Yahoo, I want to pronounce that correctly, inviting himself to Congress. It's already now legend how much that talked me off today. We also have the GOP abortion bill setback. They shouldn't have gone for this bill not knowing they've had the votes. Now, while I don't agree always, I do respect some of the anti-abortion efforts, not all of them. My belief, and I guess it should go on record so we can always debate it, I don't like abortion, but certainly incest, certainly rape, and certainly before 26 weeks, I don't see any harm in it. I don't think you're killing a human being. After that, I say to myself, someone who wants to make that decision, geez, you got 6 months to make it and you don't make it. But be that as it may, that's my take. And if you pushed me, I would say the first 3 months. I don't like it. I'm glad that the numbers of abortions are down. But they had a bill here that was going to make it a crime in cases of rape and incest even to have an abortion. And or at least as I understand it, I may be wrong on some of the details, but nonetheless, they did not have the votes and they had to pull back. Now, Iran, and this is where senators and the president may be at odds. Senators want more sanctions on Iran, but interestingly, someone as august and as taken seriously as Brent Scowcroft, who was, now just in case you're ready to jump all over Obama, he was the national security advisor to St. Reagan. Oh, did I call him a saint? Because in Republican circles he is. I thought he was a great president for lots of reasons, but sometimes my conservative brothers and sisters go a little too far with that. But nonetheless, if you loved Reagan, you got to like Scowcroft, and he says, hey, back off on that. Be careful what you do until the nuclear talks are over. But it makes an easy thing, just like kids in the schoolyard, to say, the president's weak, he's afraid, he's kowtowing to Iran. I don't know that we should jump on that just yet. And let's see what else. GOP Senator to the White House hand over the CIA report. I happen to agree with that, gentleman. So we have a lot to talk about, and not the least of which is the president. So the president's State of the Union. So coming up, without further ado, 9:50, they called right on the dot. Who do we have today, young man?
It's B2BN today.
Oh, Bob, I was hoping it would be Bob Nay today, only because he knows this stuff about which I will ask. Please welcome former Congressman himself, also now a political analyst for the Talk Radio News Service, my brother from another mother, Congressman Bob Nay. Good morning, sir.
Hi, Bob. Hey, bro, how are you?
Hey, pretty good, bro. Man, did I enjoy the Talk News Radio notes today. They even got callers ready to come and lynch me, because I get upset, and maybe I overreacted. I want to take this one first. Why did Boehner accept the meeting from Netanyahu and not inform the president? It's a breach of protocol, but it also shows a divided government. And I don't care how friendly we are with, I've always said I'd risk my life for Israel and I'd risk my life for the UK. First up, those two countries, but America first. Why do they do these things?
Yeah, let me say right out front, as a former member, I supported Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. I've been to Israel 9 times. I've met with Netanyahu, Shimon Peres, you name it, I've done it. So I wanted to throw that out there because, it's a touchy subject. But I have to tell you, I sat back and I seriously took a gasp yesterday, Bob, because, first of all, John Boehner may be actually hurting the issue.
Yes.
Number one, you have a protocol, you tell the White House, you tell State, that's what you do. And you know what? They can't veto him. They can't. Number two, here's the other issue, too. And there's a Logan Act. Not that Boehner will be prosecuted, but under the law of the Logan Act, you cannot, as an individual in America, do anything to, in fact, affect policy in our country or another utilizing a foreign leader or a country. Now, I mention that because Boehner was not bright enough, and I've known John Boehner for 30 years. He wasn't bright enough to say, I'm inviting Netanyahu to speak. No, he said, I'm inviting him to come talk about Iran. So now you have the Speaker of the House needing a foreign leader to get him votes by standing at the podium. But let me take it one step further. The Israeli ambassador to the United States, politically, I've got to mention this, helped write the contract with America years back with Frank Luntz. He negotiated this meeting. This was almost Netanyahu saying, can I come over and talk? They're doing it on the anniversary of the Iranian Revolution. I'm not talking about the issue of Iran, and Netanyahu has every right to come over here and say anything he wants. Boehner handled this in such a way, and I'm going to throw the last sin out here, Bob, because it's very important. If one single Republican from Boehner down the line dares to put out a fundraising letter that we love Israel, we're the protectors of Israel, give us some money, I'm telling you, then he's utilized a foreign leader on an issue to raise money. So, we support our ally, but Boehner could really be hurting the system.
And beyond that, it's such a touchy issue because people who are students of that part of the world know that even if it's behind closed doors, to a certain degree, we have to balance this with the other negotiations ongoing because it is a Shia Persian country whose help we need to some extent to deal with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And Boehner has to know that. This is such a touchy issue. Why would he do it with this? Why?
I posted a picture on my Facebook today, a very young me and Boehner, in Israel with Boehner meeting with Shimon Peres. I posted that. That was Boehner's first trip outside the United States. We were sitting, and they mentioned the Balfour Agreement, which is the 1917 agreement. and allowed for open immigration into, quote, Palestine at the time. Then that helped when Hitler went after the Jews. So now I'm swearing on a stack of Bibles. John Boehner turned to me when they talked about the Balfour Agreement, and he said, "What was that? Was that a drug issue?"
No, he did not. That's a Sarah Palin moment for him.
He said, "Was that a drug? Was that a drug issue?" Balfour? I'm like, no, it was open immigration. Now, I'm telling you, I sat there. I have witnesses to this. He's not the brightest light bulb. I don't think he's really. He's not anti-Israel, but I really don't think it's passion. I think this is about
it's all internal politics and raising money. Yeah. Absolutely, because every American knows, or at least those of goodwill, that we will be there for Israel no matter what.
Sure,
and because
absolutely.
And because they're our friends, and because we're close, we deserve the right to criticize them without being pointed to. And that's unfortunately a very difficult thing to do. 9:54. In fact, a funny story, just apropos of people making comments. When I was on another station, I mentioned once that Sarah Palin thought Crimea was a hand cream. A guy came to the studio. He wanted to beat me up.
I have a whole chapter in my book called Crimea River on John Boehner.
Oh,
it's called Crimea River, and I tell a story, and I can't even, and he made a horrible comment about one of his staffers over there on that trip too, and called him a degrading name for a gay person. And that's just Boehner. He just says things. He's kind of oblivious to a lot of the world, and I point it out because these are human beings. But he's never been the greatest foreign policy expert, but there's a certain way you help somebody, and I don't think he has helped Israel's case by causing. I know this is going to be a storm of controversy.
Oh, well, and when I saw it, I got outraged, and all my conservative callers, which I think they're circling the station now, and I'm a moderate. I swing both ways depending on what it is, although as one caller said, sometimes I get overly angry when the Republicans make a mistake. He may be right. Another question I wanted to ask you about, and again, I remind everybody, we are talking to former, but I still call him Congressman Bob Ney.
Republican Congressman.
Republican conservative Congressman Bob Ney, who's my brother from another mother because he knows all this stuff, and I love these issues. The other issue, Robert, is now I'm not picking on the Republicans. I'm sure the Democrats do this too. Why didn't they count noses on this abortion bill before?
I'm glad you brought that up. I was a part of the deputy whip team with Tom DeLay.
Yeah.
We knew down to the half a vote of where we stood on something we cared about. This is another example of the speaker. John Boehner doesn't pay attention to details.
No kidding.
Some staffer did this, just like they planned what he'd say about Netanyahu's visit. And here they take a bill on abortion, of all things, and what happens? The Republican women go, wait a minute, you've got some flaws in this bill. So they have to retract the bill from the floor, the first bill out of the gate. And this is another example. You don't do that. I was on the whip team. There are no surprises.
Well, there shouldn't be. I remember even from one of the things I used to like about watching The West Wing was the way they'd have the big charts on the wall counting votes and jumping up and down and saying, we got the votes, we don't, let's send somebody to talk to this other guy. I realized that was fiction, but I always assumed that both parties did that to a fault.
Yes, I can share with you, there's a little computer you can't see on the TV screen on C-SPAN in the back, and as people vote, it brings their names up. I have literally, as part of the whip team with Tom DeLay, literally stood by members that we were a little shaky on just to watch them in case they push that button and yell at them. So it's a system, a very sophisticated system. How they let this happen on this type of bill is beyond me.
And it's just interesting stuff. Now, I won't even get into the details because I want your analysis of it. What did you think of the president's State of the Union, good and bad?
Well, I thought he was, I thought he could have at least recognized, hey, you're in control and we kind of want to try some things, because Clinton did that. Could have.
He should have, yes.
It should have done something at least. Don't pretend it didn't happen, because he was part of the cause of it. I thought some of the points were good. The issue of middle class is a great issue. He's, I think, going about it the wrong way, but maybe they can seize that issue and make some agreement. And he had a lot of good issues, but I think he still really misses the boat on the overall trillions of debt. Somebody's got to put their foot down on that, national debt.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you pointed it out. To some callers called earlier about his not acknowledging the new leader of the Senate.
Yeah.
And I did not pay enough heed to that, and you're absolutely right.
just acknowledge them. What the heck? They're there. You're going to have, to live with them for a couple years.
Well, my brother, as always, you hit it out of the
Thank you,
park. I really appreciate it very much. You and my friends at the Talk News Radio Service. Thank you so much. Bob Ney, everybody.
Thank you so much, Bob.
You be well. 9:59. Scotty, it just doesn't get better than that guy.
That was this week's version of the Best of the Morning Show with Bob Marrone. We will see you next week for a brand new version with all new guests. And until then, we will see you 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Monday through Friday right here on AM 1230 WFAS.